Greetings, members, one and all of the Salivation Nation. Are you ready for more silver? Let's explore! You better be, because global silver output is to rise by 8.1% in 2021, according to a report here. This is an article that comes to us from mining.com. Global silver output is going to go up. But how does that compare with what we had just went through in this pandemic, when we saw a decrease, an annual decline? In fact, really, there's been 4 years of an annual decline here. There's going to be a global silver production is expected to increase by 8.1% in 2021 to 918.3 million ounces, and then exceed 1 billion ounces by 2024. That's a 3.2% compound annual growth rate, according to global data. Mexico, Peru, and China will be the key contributors towards silver mine production growth. No surprise there. They are certainly large players in this field for sure. They have a combined production in these three countries expected to increase from a forecast 393.9 million ounces in 2021 to 443.9 million ounces in 2024. So there we go. So here we can see this chart here that tells us. I kind of don't like how they did these colors, because they kind of run together, but nonetheless you can see the big players: China, Australia, Russia. The U.S. has a very small slice, and their increase is expected to have nominally increased there. Peru, Mexico, and then others. It's a pretty big chunk for others. That makes up the vast majority. And I think that is largely due to silver being produced as a byproduct of other metals. And that is the primary silver production, is as a byproduct of other metals. The era of the primary producing mines is going down. There's not as many of those. Finding that high-grade silver is getting tough. But when you mine it as a byproduct of other metals, well, typically the cost to do it goes down dramatically. The forecast follows this year of decline in 2020. We can see here how low it was. It was the lowest of these years, which is obvious the reasons why. It saw global silver mine production fall by an estimated 2.4% to 849.7 million ounces, partly owing the lockdowns and restrictions in top silver producing countries. In addition, depleting ore reserves has been a major concern for the industry in recent years. The greatest impact from the COVID-19 pandemic on silver production was seen during the first 9 months of 2020, when 8 of the top 10 silver producers reported a collective 13.9% year-on-year decrease in output. Among those reporting significant declines in output between the first and third quarters were Pan American, which had a 6.8 million ounce decline, Hochschild, which had a 6.4 million ounces, and Compañía de Minas Buenaventura SAA, which had 6.3 million ounces decline. In Mexico, output was estimated to have fallen by 1.8% in 2020, with mining activities suspended for almost 2 months through the end of May, says Vina Baja, Associate Project Manager at Global Data. Major silver producers in one country temporarily suspended their mining operations during the period, and production losses were registered at Pan America's La Colorada and Dolores mines, Fortuna's Silver San Jose mine, Industrias Panoles Saicito mine, and Hecla Mining's company's San Sebastian project, among others. However, these COVID-19 related production losses were partially offset by higher production from other key mines, including Penasquito, Guanaceví, Zimapan, and Ocampo projects, as well as the commencement of projects in 2020 such as Rey de Plata Kapir and Tahueto projects. And you've heard me talk about some of these mine exploration projects that are going around, not only for silver but also gold. Peru suffered a significantly larger decline in silver output, down by an estimated 16% over the course of 2020, having fallen by 29.1% year over year in the first 7 months of the year. The Achuchacua mine, owned by Buenaventura, was the biggest contributor towards the decline, and silver output dropped by around 4 million ounces in the first 9 months of 2020 versus the same period of 2019. Operational suspensions at Pan American, Huron, and Muracocha mines between May and September also contributed towards the decline. Projects with potential to commence operations during the forecast period include the Corani project in Peru, which is wholly owned by the Bear Creek Mining Corporation. It has received all the regulatory approvals and permissions, with construction scheduled to commence in the second quarter of 2021 and production in 2024. In addition, the Phoenix gold mine in Mexico, wholly owned by McEwen Mining, is currently undergoing a definitive feasibility study. The project's construction work is scheduled to start at the end of 2021, with operations to begin next year in 2022. So there you have it. So look at the tail of the tape. We're getting up here towards the production in 1,000 ounces. So by 1,000 ounces, so that's going to be a million ounces or whatever have you. It's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out. We're essentially by 2024 going to get back to somewhat normal times in production, but these increases make you wonder about where the price of silver is going to go, because obviously the biggest driver for the price of any commodity is going to be supply and demand. Although silver is kind of an odd duck in that it is both an industrial metal and it is also considered a hedge as money, although less so these days. But maybe 2020 is starting to change some minds for some people, as we are starting to see a great demand. With the price increase in 2020 was quite something to see, but we did have a tighter supply for obvious reasons. And does this mean, as we go through the next 4 years here, that the price is going to normalize back to pre-pandemic levels? Likely not, in my view. Although we will see some decline, I think, to some extent. But when we have other factors such as rising fuel cost, more quantitative easing, more central planning by governments, and essentially a reset of our current financial and monetary systems, I believe that we'll probably see silver in a positive direction overall over the next few years here. Now, that's a pretty safe assumption. That's a pretty safe prediction here. I can't really begin to say where I think silver is going to go by 2024, but I mention this because there's some people that think that silver is going to go to the moon anytime soon because of the short squeeze that's going on right now in the physical world. There's no longer a paper. I think that has pretty much been abandoned. But we have to come to the realization here that there's going to be more silver coming online. And if you look at it in terms of a battle, a sustained battle, you buy more, they will make more and produce more. And I'd be very curious to see all of the buying, the raids and everything that are going on right now on silver, this big push, which I think is exciting, and I'm all for it. But I'd be very curious to see how long this is sustained and how far we can separate from spot to the physical price of the metal, because as we're starting to see more supplies come in, now we're starting to see premiums lower on the buyback prices. Not necessarily the buy prices on your end, but the buyback prices, which I think in some way is meant to discourage buying for people that are so inclined to look at what these buyback prices are. That is widening to an extent, for generics especially. So keep that in mind as you buy, and if you are one of those like me that buys and holds for a period of time, it may not matter. It's just a matter as a pure stacker standpoint as to whether or not you will recover that premium in terms of spot price movement in an upwards direction as the years go by. Not the months go by, but as the years go by. For a long-term holder of these metals, then you are thinking years instead of months, or even in a sense, according to what the price may or may not be. But to start 8.1% increase in 2021, are you ready for it and what that may or may not do to the price? Now, this does not change my calculus in terms of what I think and where I think the price of silver is going to go. If you were to ask me a couple of weeks ago when silver was had reached that $30 level, that ever so important support level for silver, you would not have thought me crazy to say that silver's going to end the year at around $30 to $35 an ounce. Well, I'm sticking to my prediction for 2021. I don't take myself too seriously when I make a prediction of silver, and I could certainly be wrong. But nowadays, right now, we had a pretty big smackdown over the just heading into the weekend here on the silver spot price, and now it's $26 as of the recording of this video, where the markets are closed. It's at $26.80, so just under $27 an ounce. And a lot of these bullion dealers out there are paying pennies above that now for generic silver. But at least they're paying spot or a little bit over spot for generics now, with this a little bit more of the silver being produced and supply being sent out to dealers. There was a time, many remember, when dealers were paying under spot, even under bid price, in many cases for some of these generic rounds, and they would pay maybe spot or $1 above for silver eagles. So we are in a new time, and I think that it's just a matter of persistence in buying and understanding what you buy and understanding the premiums that you're spending your money on here, because there is the tie-in. Are you okay with that? If you're okay with that, then great. And if you understand it, then even better, and how that's going to necessarily play out down the road. But I give you this report to let you know that they are going to start ramping up production again. And unless, of course, we see some crazy, dangerous variant of the coronavirus that shuts down mines again, I kind of doubt that's going to happen at this point. And knowing the incredible demand that we'll probably see in terms of the environmental sector, this, 8.1% and heading into others, an increase of these years may not be enough for this global production to meet the demand in the environmental sector or the electronics, EVs, solar panels and the like, all that stuff. It may not be enough, which means that we can continue to see a steady increase in prices moving forward. We'll find out. Nonetheless, that's the report for today. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Would like to extend a multitude of gratitude to you all for taking the time to watch, and encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.